One thing about early access is it's a very small sample size between a very small group of players. We as content creators sometimes will get things a little bit wrong as a result, myself included of course. I am only human and I have only my own limited perspective. And so sometimes the conclusions we come to about units, their usefulness, etc. will not necessarily be 100% correct, and myself, when I'm presented with evidence to the contrary, I'm more than happy to change my opinion, which brings us to Chameleon Stalkers, a unit I kind of bash a little bit during the early access time period. We've got a couple of replays here. This first one from Tequila Sunset. He's up against Warriors of Chaos. We've got a nice vanguard force of Chameleon Stalkers here, 4 of them ready to show the Warriors of Chaos what's what. A couple of Pterodon riders as well. Buffed Nakai leading the way, eating the way even, because he's definitely been eating his protein. Got extra thick with extra mass, always nice for a monstrous type character like him. Some Source Warriors, a Court of Waddle, Sacred Croc scores, got a Skink Priest, Lore of Beasts. On the other side, Sigvald, the maybe magnificent. Weird spawn here. I've got some Chaos Warriors, chosen with Halberds, very strong pick right now with the infantry meta, regular Chaos Warriors up front, Death Sorcerer. But going back to Chameleon Stalkers, so although the model count and sort of stat line is still a little bit weird, one of the use cases for them that I've seen over the past week or so, week and a half, give or take, that the DLC's been released, is to help screen, like, mobile forces, right? To help kind of act as a backline defense, but more of just like a mobile contesting force, right? Because Lizardmen don't have traditional skirmish cavalry, they generally lack any fast attack units whatsoever. I mean, they have cavalry, but Pterodons are their fastest units, and they are flying only. They don't have anything on the ground that's 90+ speed. The Chameleons, though, are fast for infantry, 48 speed, of course, with poison attacks and melee, and they've got that high burst ranged attack with their precursor weapons. And as you can see here, they've already bursted down units of Hounds here. Marauder Horsemen getting caught in their range as well, and because of the Stalk and Vanguard, they can get into situations where, you know, they can screen out those mobile forces in many engagements that and matchups that can be pretty critical. Warriors of Chaos is a very good example of that, given that they have Horsemen and Hounds, both of which are units that you can't really catch and can threaten you in various different ways. Hounds especially chasing off routing units, you know, mass attacking with great numbers on individual isolated skinks and so forth can be a big problem, but here they're able to pretty decisively, not necessarily win, but again, just kind of screen out, disrupt, and not allow these Marauder Horsemen and Hounds to really get at the targets they want to get at. You can see one Hound unit eventually makes it in kind of a rear charge here, but the rest of the mobile forces being kept very well at bay. Meanwhile, Nakai and Manticore just drop down in the center, going to pummel Sigvald here, just bashing him in the head with that giant spiked lollipop. He doesn't like that at all, so he's going to go ahead and get out of there, try and regenerate some more of his HP. Theta, boring, going off on Court of Waddle, actually not the best. You would likely want to just be Spirit Leeching them instead, but that's okay. You know, it still will do a solid amount of HP damage overall. Weird Spawn come in on the flank, having not been hit up too much. They are a fairly dangerous unit, but you can see that the Warriors of Chaos and the Chosen with Halberds just getting worn down by Saurus and melee. Haven't really been watching much of the support magic, but now the mobile forces have kind of been dealt with, still even being dealt with by the Chameleon Stalkers. They're showcasing another great asset, which is just a straight-up flank attack. The speed and poison, even though they don't have that best stats, means that when they get in on a rear attack, side attack, they're not subject to as much of the melee defense. They can get poison to support whatever unit, like the Saurus or, you know, I guess Court of Waddle, Court of Sotek already have poison damage. And they themselves are just cleaning up shop here with their armor-piercing Frenzy, who I believe a little bit more weapon damage than they did before, but regardless, have another Manticore summon popping up, and things are already looking pretty good for the Lizardmen up front. And just in general, Nakai has taken quite a bit of damage. Sigvald kind of turning things around with the Chosen with Halberd, Standard Eye being popped to give that extra melee defense, but nice screening action here. Although Chosen are obviously a much superior infantry, the Chameleon Skinks can literally like come, get 2 attack animations, and then run away. And the fact that the Chosen will be so much slower, yeah, they're not going to be able to catch up. 24 speed on the Poison Chosen there, so... same thing with Sigvald again, they poison him, he's not able to keep up with Nakai as well, and even just these extra little incidental attacks, of course the Manticore adding a big chunk as well, but just having those little extra distractions, like even if Nakai ends up losing here, Sigvald is going to be taking consistent damage in an AoE, getting his weapon strength debuffed by poison and everything. and just in general not having the best time of his life. Believe it or not, you know, this is not ideal situation for Sigvald, so he's going to go down. That should probably trigger army losses, I would imagine. I mean, the Spawn obviously are unbreakable. They will continue fighting, but just look at these other Chameleon skinks. I mean, they're not winning, right? They're definitely not winning, but the fact that they're just, like, tying up all these horsemen, annoying them, not allowing them to get set and shoot against the high-value targets that they need to. In this case, probably the Pterodons, honestly, you would want to try and get rid of their last mobility. Yeah, potentially Manticores, even just Saurus are good value to throw javelins at in general. So, yeah, great job by Tequila Sunset utilizing those, and we'll look at the values after the fact. I do have one more battle to show you as well between myself and my patron Spudhouse. We'll be taking a look at another kind of the final use case, in my opinion, great use case of Chameleon Stalkers, but here they perform very well in that mobile screen. In terms of value, I mean, they don't necessarily quite pay for themselves most of the time, and oftentimes you'll find the damage isn't quite where you need it to be if you're having them fulfill more of a tactical role like this. But, I mean, the value comes in that these horsemen were largely well limited. I mean, a couple of them still get some okay value fighting in melee against the Stalkers, but it's really not what you would want. The Hounds especially are severely limited here. With Chaos, Beastmen, other factions that can take Hound-type units, they are very good against the Lizardmen. I would say you want to mass them all in one concentration, so you get, you know, maximum value from over-modeling your opponent, and then also, yeah, they can be a pain for Lizardmen to deal with in general sometimes, so them being so limited is a credit to the Stalkers. Of course, also trading great in the front line. In general, a Court of Sotek, 1100 damage value, just awesome. Yeah, a lot of the other stuff, I mean, doesn't quite pay for itself. Nakai does pretty good, but in general, just kind of a well-balanced value spread. The Warriors of Chaos, the Warriors themselves have a pretty tough time. Chosen also pay for themselves, but still don't have quite enough supporting elements at the end of the day to win. And again, a lot of that comes down to the Chameleon Stalkers winning that support engagement. And of course, Sigvald getting absolutely pounded by Nakai. So there you go. Let's go ahead and get to the next replay. We're back, and this time these Chameleon Stalkers way out here in the corner, ready to sweep in at a later stage to potentially disrupt artillery or skirmishers, which is, again, another great use case for them given their Vanguard deployment. This is something you'll see occasionally with, like, Death Runners, other type units that can just literally stick in your opponent's opposite corner and then run in and try and get at some artillery or skirmishers. Myself playing the High Elves, Spudhouse, my patron, a big thanks to him for his generosity, is playing the Lizardmen. Let's take a look at the builds here. He's got a Light Slon, or sorry, High Slon. Yep, High Slon, Tempest, Apotheosis, and Soul Quench here. A unit of Ripperdactyls, some Pterodon Riders, 2 Pterodon Riders, bunch of Saurus in the front line, Cold One Riders, some Skinks. Skink cohorts here, I just wanted to quickly showcase as I kind of fold back with my Reavers. I've got White Lions in the front line, some Spearmen, 5 Lothern Sea Guard, Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower. Metal Caster on an Eagle drops down to kind of disrupt these Skinks, and some people think that Skink Cohort actually beat Illyrian Reavers on the charge, but that's just simply not true. Cavalry might not be ideal right now, but it's definitely better than it was in the last patch, and I mean, they can still get some work done, as you can see here. Anyway, so we'll forget about the Stalkers for the time being, as that's going to take them some time to make their way over to the rest of the battle. So just kind of focusing on things as they play out here. Focus firing with my Sea Guards on these Saurus. As the Pterodons kind of sweep up and around, I'm just keeping my Illyrian Reavers here in a position in case the Pterodons try and come down to the ground. I can countercharge them here, and just to sort of hold this backline area. White Lions now countercharging in. Honestly, with the Grey Weapon meta right now, White Lions are probably one of my favorite infantry units. They, at times, haven't been one of my favorites, but now pretty solid. I'm going to saturate, at least try to, get these Pterodon Riders with some bow fire. Spudhouse does a great job kind of turning away there and avoiding most of the damage. Now charging down to the ground with the 2 Saurus Scarvets on Cold Ones here. That White Line unit is going to get absolutely nuked. Have to deploy my Reavers in a charge against those Skink Cohort just to hold them back. Dropping rocks on my Lothern Sea Guard here. You can see the Stalkers still making their journey on over here, but for now completely unaccounted for. I mean, I literally have no idea that they're there. A little bit of a final transmutation going to be cast on these pterodons just to try and get rid of them. Honestly, in hindsight, I probably should have put it on this pocket right here with these Ripperdactyls and the 2 heroes. Probably more value gold-wise and more danger as well. These Ripperdactyls are a severe danger to my White Lions, and they've so far proven pretty good. Teeing off the Bolt Thrower on the High Slon here. And also, yeah, now switching onto the Saurus Scarvets as they're kind of more an imminent threat to the Bolt Throwers themselves, but mostly winning the infantry fight. We're able to kind of get back, and the Cold One Riders had been taking fire from the artillery. That combined with the Reavers now should be able to win that fight, but yeah. Slon's still alive, still able to heal himself. Nice banishment as well, catches quite a bit of my infantry. The little bit of a risky dive here from the Metal Mage. I figured I could maybe get the Slon here and, you know, deal with the Ripperdactyls via other means, potentially screen them out, but I actually don't have the orders in place right now, and the Ripperdactyls are going to get a rear charge, and the Stalkers now being revealed. I believe they had used some of their ammo on my Reavers, but we'll now keep them kind of in view as they are in play. And I still haven't fully realized that they're here, but Bolt Thrower gets hit up by the Saurus Scarvets. They're going to be able to not quite rout it, actually. The fire from the Lothern Sea Guard kind of forces them away. But the Stalkers now move in. They could come after this artillery. They're also, looks like, actually just going to attack the Lothern Sea Guard, which is probably a pretty decent play as well. A nasty Soul Quench. I have to say, Spudhouse on point with the Soul Quenches, as you will see here. Gets a good one there on the White Line Infantry. The White Line Infantry is kind of my, you know, they're almost my entire front line here. Very good overall unit type in a number of situations, so getting rid of them, definitely understandable. I'm going to Overcast, take some damage there, Plague of Rust. I was really hoping I could finish this Scarvet off, but again, risky dive from me. This other Scarvet wasn't as blocked up in these White Lines as I potentially thought, and my quick hit and run quickly turns into get hit and then run. As a Metal Archmage gets routed here. Not an ideal situation for me at all. That's okay. We're going to keep firing with the Bolt Throwers, get those Lothern Sea Guard screened, and hope she comes back. She may not, but we'll see. Meanwhile, the Stalkers are still just attacking these Sea Guards, and I really don't have resources to detach to try and get rid of them. So although their stats are kind of not even as good as the Lothern Sea Guards, Sea Guards are in guard mode, so they're still firing. They're not actually really fighting back. And also, you know, they're getting poisoned, so their missile strength and weapon strength is getting debuffed, right? As they're firing into these Ripperdactyls helping to finish off one more unit of White Lines, still very close. In the periphery here, we've got Reavers still cleaning up various units. We've got some more Lions that's still fight very well against Saurus. But Pterodons come down, weren't quite finished off by that final transmutation. The other one did shatter. They're going to come in and disrupt the Bolt Throwers once more. These Stalkers now in this late game, you look like they are basically the healthiest unit on the field left, besides maybe some of my Sea Guards, who are now just desperately fighting the Slon Mage in melee and with their missile attacks, also getting attacked in the flank by Saurus here. Yeah, we're desperately trying to get rid of that High Slon, and if I can, I'm pretty confident that we could probably win this battle. It is going to be very, very close, but I'm confident, at least with myself, that if I have enough White Line Infantry left at the end of the day, I can just beat the Chameleon Stalkers with them in melee. But that's a big if at this point, as these guys are kind of getting ground down. We've still got this very healthy Saurus Scarvet also to deal with. High Slon does get routed here, but my tools that were kind of in place to chase them off, these Reavers and so forth, are now getting collapsed on by the very tattered Cold One Riders, and Saurus Scarvet will also be able to clean up the White Lion there, so not great. Slon actually may come back from rout and be able to heal himself. We'll see. I'm going to try and apply whatever pressure I can to keep that from happening. Ripperdactyls also barely getting routed here. It's very, very close pitch fight. Saurus Scarvet rumbling, but the whole time this Chameleon Stalker has just been chewing down Lothern Sea Guard, and so far it's generated really nice value. They're going to retreat from those White Lines, choose not to take that engagement, which is definitely the right call. Move over and try and finish off this Bolt Thrower crew, which I have attempted to come back and man, but great job by Spudhouse here. We do have White Lines on two sides, though, so now is the time to potentially... just kidding. It actually looks like those White Lines will lose because they just don't have enough unit models left in this late game. The Chameleon Stalkers are tired. I mean, everyone's tired, but just the fact they have so many more models at this point, they're able to kind of win that. And, yeah, not looking great for me right now. Balance power has turned pretty heavily against me as the Slon does come back, able to heal himself. He's also going to be able to heal either of these Sora Scarvets. Both are still alive. I mean, one is barely hanging on here, but still a little bit of ammo left on this one Seaguard, but basically everything else is done for. Got some White Lions coming back, some Seaguards coming back with a tiny bit of ammo as well, so really looking quite desperate here. But not great. These Stalkers still, I mean, above half HP, just cleaning up left and right all these tattered units. So I guess in this scenario, the sort of artillery slash skirmisher attack, and also as a late game cleanup tool, especially against, again, we come back to sort of the Hound problem. Oh man, nasty Soul Quench. I told you, Bloodhouse was on point with his Soul Quenches. That literally just triggered army losses right there. You know, sometimes my patrons beat me up, and I really enjoy it, I have to say. It brings warmth to my heart. Really fun game, to be honest. Very close back and forth. Great game to Spudhouse. And yeah, that nasty Soul Quench, that Spawn took it on the chins, many chins, but still able to punch back in the end. And the Stalkers, still, again, don't quite pay for themselves, but tactically, I mean, being so healthy in the late game, they are literally the healthiest unit out of either of our armies, right? Being able to clean up, using that poison in the late game, getting after the skirmishers and other missile units, just in general. The Lizardmen lack units which are good at chasing and cleaning up routing units, right? One benefit of most skink infantry is they're pretty fast, but having that poison also means, and I think the Chameleons are even faster than base skinks. We'll have to look at that here in just a second, but yeah, just excellent utility in that way. Still think their price point could come down a little bit, or else bump their model count up, even to like 75 would be okay. But anyway, nice value spread across the army here. Just in general, most things. The Ripperdaxel is definitely MVP in terms of damage value, but just in general, most Lizardmen stuff doing pretty well here. Same thing for me. I mean, it was a really close battle. White Lion Infantry, again, I love these guys right now. They're a really solid pick for the High Elves in most situations. Lothran Seaguard also very good. Two of them get wrecked, but 3 of them are amazing. Reavers also a fantastic unit. Bolt throwers, yeah, just in general, this High Elf army actually worked out pretty well. I think me ham-fisting my lord and kind of making a few micro mistakes there is ultimately, like, on my end, from my perspective, what cost me, but definitely credit to Spudhouse, on point with his magic cast there. I didn't even get to see any Tempest, which is interesting, just kind of the way things played out. But anyway, let's go ahead and just quickly finish up with the reevaluation of the Stalkers. And it's tricky because I still think they are too expensive, and again, I still think they could potentially buff their model count slightly, maybe not all the way up to 90, but even just to 75 would not hurt. Like Saurus have 75, right? But anyway, yeah, there's not a lot of units that are a great direct comparison. So just looking at the other skinks, okay, yeah, so they are slightly faster than the base skink infantry, right? I believe also 48 speed, yep, on regular Chameleons. So just being able to act as a screening force for those, you know, hounds, light cavalry, skirmish cavalry, stuff like that, being able, in the matchups where you would need such a screen, and those tend to be the more rush-oriented matchups, you know, Norska, Beastmen, Warriors of Chaos, those are all hound factions, right? Vampire counts as well. You often won't see as much in that matchup typically because you kind of go more heavy central type build with the Lizardmen, but you know, in theory they'd be good against them as well. Tomb King's light cavalry is slower, so you could potentially catch them. Nekar Horsemen have good enough stats that you'd probably need to hit them with the precursors pretty well to get a decisive win there. But even still, again, just screening them out, keeping them from getting into your back line or cleaning up your actual ranged skinks is quite good use case. Obviously, Vampire Coast, you guys should have seen Turin use them against me in this matchup, which I do think is still their best matchup on paper. Skaven, I mean, you don't typically see a ton of Wolf Rats in this matchup, but again, it's something that you can run into, and even still, I think getting on artillery and weapons teams is also a good use case in this matchup, and that kind of transitions us to non-light cavalry slash, you know, artillery-centric matchups like the Empire, for example. I mean, Pistoliers can be a problem, but you have plenty of ways of dealing with them, and, you know, Empire artillery and missile units can definitely be a problem. Same thing with, like, Dwarfs, again, Skaven. So in those matchups, it's useful to sort of switch the role instead of backline defense to backline attack, and I guess that's really the point here is anytime you're in the back line, whether that's your own or your opponent's, the Chameleon Stalkers probably have a place, or out on the flanks as well. So yeah, fun stuff. Again, I still think it's a weird unit to try and use, but I get it now to a greater degree, if that makes sense. Hopefully you guys do as well. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. See you next time.